The way I've been trying to set up this camera and find a good angle with good lighting and also have good audio, I honestly don't know how YouTubers do it because I'm so tired already and I've not even started the video. But hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I haven't posted in a while, which is just laughable at this point because I start all my videos by saying that. So honestly, I would understand why anyone wouldn't take me seriously at this point. But I am back. I have a few things planned for this channel and I wanted to start off by making just a book video about all the book updates that I have from this year, all the books that I've read so far, what I think about them, my reviews about them and all of that. Especially because comparatively I have been reading a lot more this year as opposed to the last few years, which I love. So I read just a little over 10 books so far, which might not be a lot, but it is a lot for me, so I'm proud and I'm happy about it. Let's get started. The first book that I read this year is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and if you follow me on Insta, you might remember me posting about it while I was reading it, because I did not like it at all. Like, the writing was great. First of all, I liked the writing. I was invested in the synopsis as well. I understood the plot seemed interesting to me and I was excited to pick up this book because I'd heard such good reviews about it. But it was such a disappointment for me personally, and I believe with especially romance novels, I have a very strong preference of what I like and what I don't like, and I do believe that's why I did not end up liking it, because this was kind of exactly the type of book that I don't like. First of all, the female character was a little insufferable to me because I don't know, there were just certain traits that she had which was so annoying, and I did think about it and I would like to give her the benefit of the doubt because this is a young adult novel and it's based in high school, so I do understand everyone in school is stupid and making just stupid decisions, so I tried not to be as judgmental, but it really was just so infuriating reading about everything she was doing, so I did not like it at all. But I would like to read something else by this author because I like the writing, and yeah, this just wasn't for me. Especially also because I am not a big fan of friends to lovers in general. Like, that is not my favorite trope at all, so maybe that played a role as well. But yeah, this was just disappointing. I was really excited to read it, but it did not live up to my expectations at all. On to the next book. I gave it 1 star. I'm gonna rate these books as well, so I think I gave it 1 or 2 stars. Wouldn't really recommend it to you. The next book that I read was 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson. This book is a 5th part of this murder mystery series, and to give you a little context before you get into this series, just in case you're planning on, the first 3 books are about the same mystery aspect, so you're not going to really get the answers in the first book itself. You have to read the first 3 books to kind of understand the entire thing that was going on, and then one case kind of closes in the first book, and then the 4th and 5th book are kind of standalone mysteries with the same characters. So by this book, since it's the 5th part, I was very familiar with the characters and I was really invested in their lives, and which I don't know it was intentional or not, but there was a lot going on in the personal lives of these characters and I was more invested in that rather than the murder mystery aspect of it, which isn't something I would want because this is a murder mystery book at the end of the day. But I was not at all bothered by that part. I mean, I did not care who the murderer was or what was going on. I mean, I don't know, I was just so much more invested in the personal lives, which was fine, but at the same time, as I said, you don't really want that in a murder mystery novel. Plus there was a really good development in one of the characters' lives, which I was a really big fan of, so I still gave it 3 stars. But so if you're looking for something which follows the same characters over a bunch of books and there's, you know, you want to be much more invested with not just a mystery aspect but also the characters, I would definitely recommend this series. It's called Truly Devious series. I enjoyed reading it back when I initially read it, but I think by now I'm kind of done. I don't know, I'm not as invested anymore. Okay, the next book that I read is Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto, and this is a pretty small book, but it did take me a while to read it, and I think that was because I did not expect it to go in the direction it was going in. I thought it would talk a lot more about grief and just relationships you form over the years, but it kind of took a little bit of a turn, and there was a romance subplot which I wasn't really prepared for. So I just had different expectations from this book, but it was still a good read, and I gave it 3 stars, I think. So if you want to pick up a Japanese literature novel which is pretty small, I would definitely recommend it. Okay, I gave it 3 stars. I think I already mentioned that. Okay, the next book that I read is called Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I spoke about this in my previous video as well, and this is based in the 1960s, and it follows this character called Elizabeth Zott, who is a chemist, and it speaks about a lot of different issues, including grief and the struggles that women go through in their workspace as well as in their personal lives. And it was just a really inspirational book personally for me. I loved the character and I really enjoyed reading it as well. I gave it 5 stars, I think, and I highly recommend it. Okay, the next book that I read is called 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. This book is a very fast-paced novel, and we follow these characters who are stuck in an RV, and there's a shooter outside who's trying to kill one of them, but they don't know who the shooter is trying to kill. So there's a lot of tension within the small space they're all in, and it was really fast-paced. I really enjoyed reading it. I also loved the ending. It was very satisfying, and yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I love Holly Jackson. I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I watched the show as well, so I'm a big fan, but I would highly recommend if you're looking for something that's really fast-paced and will keep you on your toes. Okay, the next book that I read is called Funny Story by Emily Henry, and guys, I loved it. I actually did, which honestly, as you heard already, my review about Better Than the Movies was not so great, and that's because with romance novels, the smallest of things will tick me off, and that's honestly what happened with this one as well. I gave it 4 stars, but there was this one thing, and the only reason, this is so embarrassing now that I say it out loud, but the only reason I did not give it 5 stars was because there's this small detail. Okay, there's an ongoing joke, and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this book for you, but I need to let it out because I'm so frustrated about it for no particular reason. But there's this ongoing joke in this where whenever the girl will be eating, she'll make noises when she eats, which is kind of like telling that, oh, she's really enjoying the food, which I get. Okay, fine, she's loving the food, love that for her, but then why do I have to read about her moaning every time she's eating her food is beyond me. Because it's the first 2 times is fine, but then I don't know, I feel like we can have better jokes, we can have better inside jokes with the 2 main characters, but I don't know, that was so unnecessary, and also something so unnecessary to be mad about. But yeah, that's why I gave it 4 stars. Everything else was perfect. The guy was amazing, the girl was amazing, the plot of the book was also really good, and I was really invested from the beginning because of it. Again, to give a little context, the guy, I'm gonna try to explain it properly. The guy and the girl, the way they know each other now is because both of their previous partners cheated on them and they are together, if that makes sense. So yeah, I was invested, and yeah, it was a really good book. Let me give you all my Emily Henry rankings while we are at it. First one is Happy Place, then it's Funny Story, then it's Book Lovers, then it's Beach Read, and then I am not going to speak about People We Meet on Vacation because I'm not a big fan. So yeah, okay. The next book that I read is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Janet McCurdy, and I know it's been around 2 years since this came out and everyone was obsessed with it, so I have been wanting to read it ever since then, and I did buy it actually back then, but I was a little scared to pick it up, and I was a little hesitant to pick it up because I know it speaks about a lot of triggering and dark issues that she goes throughout her life, from as young as when she was 6 years old, and I I felt like I was never in the headspace to read something like that, because the issues varied from eating disorders to abusive relationships with the people around her and exploitation in the entertainment industry. So I was scared to pick it up, but I finally did, and oh my god, her writing is so good. I genuinely feel that if she would have written it any other way, it would have been a little harder to go through because of the things that she speaks about. But the way she wrote it, there was just a little bit of touch of humor to it, which I feel was much needed to get through the book easily. But at the same time, it still was just so heartbreaking to read, because you are around 60 to 70% of the book and you realize that she's gone through so much shit already, but she's still just 20 years old. And I was so sad. I feel so much for her, and she's just such an inspirational woman, honestly. And I love the book, and I would definitely recommend that you guys read it. It lives up to the expectations, but at the same time, please read the trigger warnings before you get into it. Oh god, I'm a little tired, honestly. Okay, the next few books I actually don't have with me, so I'm gonna see. Oh, my head hurts. Okay, the next book that I read is called Before Your Memory Fades. It's the third part, I think, or fourth, no, third part in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, and it was nice. I think I made this mistake of reading these books kind of back to back, which made me a little bored, because all these books follow the same format. There's going to be 4 stories in every book, and they are gonna kind of follow a similar path. So I started getting really bored. But now in hindsight, when I think about it, it was a really good book, and maybe I just need a little break from this series and get back into it later on. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was a good book. I would definitely recommend that you guys pick up this series if you're looking for something short and interesting to read about. Okay, the next book that I read is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and guys, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I went through it very quickly. There were just certain aspects of it which pissed me off, and I know not all characters are perfect. I'm trying to come to terms with that, because I don't know why it's so hard for me. I feel every time I pick up a fiction book, in my head it's like you have to be perfect if you're going to be a fictional character, which is a horrible thing to think about. I don't think that's how reading works. But Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow follows these 2 friends for, I don't know, I think the book starts with them being around 12 years of age, and then we follow them till they are over 30. So that's quite a long time, and the whole concept is that they end up becoming these game developers, programmers, is that what it's called? But I think game developers, and they make games together. And I was, first of all, low-key scared that I won't understand what they're talking about, because I don't game. I don't know anything about gaming, and I thought if there would be a lot of conversations about gaming, I would get bored, but I did not, which is amazing, because there was a lot of conversation about games. I mean, they're talking about the entire process of making it, and I was still really invested. I went through this book in 2 days, and it's a pretty big book. It's around 500 pages, and I loved it. The only issue was that because we follow them for so long, there are times where they are not communicating well with each other or are mad at each other, and that kind of made me just mad. I was just hoping, I mean, guys, talk it out. What is this with, you know, silent treatment and all this nonsense? Just speak to each other. Why is communication so hard for you guys? You're 30 years old. And another thing happened in this book, which I will not be talking about because that would be a spoiler, but if you have read it, you would know one thing towards like 70-80% of the book. Literally, you had no business doing that. First of all, I don't know, that was so uncalled for. I don't know why that had to be done. I was so pissed. But again, I will recommend it to you guys. It's a great book if you're not as annoying as me trying to pick on smallest of details. But it's a great book. It was an interesting read also, as I said, because I don't know anything about gaming, so it was really refreshing to read about that world and how games are made, how games are developed. But yeah, great book, very fast paced. Will recommend. Oh wait, I don't have the books. Will recommend it to you guys. The next book, I'm tired. Okay, the next book that I read is called Counterattacks at 30. It's by the same author who wrote Almond, which I read over 2 years ago. And it was a nice book. I don't know if it's just the Korean and Japanese literature books that I pick up, but they are all a little bit mellow. No, not mellow. I don't know if that's the right word, but not a lot is happening in these books. And I feel it's still great to read about because it is literary fiction and I do like reading it, but I feel a lot of times I just pick them up at that wrong time. I mean, like for example, I picked this up right after I read Tomorrow, and I went through it so quickly and there was so much happening, and then there was this abrupt change of genre that I was reading where not a lot was happening, you know, because this follows this woman who's 30 years of old and she's going to a workplace and she's not really satisfied with where she is in her professional life, and how the work environment can sometimes be so hostile and you still don't have control over it. So she's talking about how she feels about that and how she perceives these things, and that was such a quick change for me from the previous book that I read that I kind of ended up forcing myself to get through it instead of actually enjoying reading it. But nonetheless, it was still a really good book. I gave it 3 stars, and if you're in a mood to read a literary fiction, especially from a Korean author, I would definitely suggest. It was a really good book, and yeah, I just picked it up at a bad time. The next book that I read is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, and I know I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like it though. I mean, I do feel the writing was very interesting. It was written in a very different manner, and it also kind of reminded me of Only Murders in the Building, because we follow these 4 people from a retirement home who are really into solving unsolved murders and just talking about them, but then a murder takes place in their city and then they are trying to solve that murder. So the plot sounded very interesting to me, but I don't know, I think it was just... I actually, oh my god, now that I think, I don't really remember who the murderer was. Wait. I've literally, like, I feel I just wasn't invested in the story, I guess, because I literally don't remember what happened in the end, and I read it only a month ago, so this is concerning. But yeah, I don't know, maybe it just wasn't the type of style that I was used to reading. But it is a series, and I mean, if you want to try it out, you can, and if you like it, great for you, because there's a lot more books in this series. But I don't know, it just wasn't really something that I enjoyed, and I can't really put a finger on it. I'm really tired. Okay, next book that I read is called First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, and yeah, I bought it because the cover was so pretty. Honestly, it was pink, and I saw the cover. I was watching actually this YouTuber who was reading this book, and I wasn't planning on buying any books because I'm on a reading ban and I have a lot of books to read. I don't know if you can tell, majority of these are unread, so I was not going to buy books, but then I saw the cover and it was so pretty that I just had to buy it. And yeah, and I ended up reading it. I gave it 3 stars, and this time I have valid reasons for not liking this book. First of all, the plot was very interesting. So from the beginning I was really invested, and the first 50% of the book was interesting as well, but the whole thing was that the guy was emotionally unavailable. Like, that's just how it starts. We know it while we are getting into it, you know. His whole thing was that he was a radio jockey who had his radio show where he would give advice about love to people who would call in, but then he didn't believe in love. So I knew it was going to be a little, you know, bit of a thing where he was just not ready for something and all that nonsense. But come on, you know you like her, you are literally always spending time with her, you're always flirting with her, just accept it and be nice. I don't know, like, it kind of ruined for me because it took too long to get his shit together, you know. And another thing that I did not like was that there were a lot of interesting characters other than the main characters, and because this book is going to be a book series with the next book focusing on this book is going this is actually going to be like a book series where in the next book the romance would be about someone else, like his best friend, and we'll be following that. So I understand why the other characters weren't too included, but at the same time I would have loved to see their dynamic more with just other people in their lives. I mean, for example, there was no moment where the female character just sat down and told her best friend what was going on with the guy, which I feel is crazy. I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean you're not telling your best friend what is going on, but she still just somehow knows? I don't know. So I would have loved for other characters, which were introduced really well, but I would have loved for them to be more involved in this book, but it really just focused on the two main characters a lot instead. But a decent read nonetheless. The writing was great as well. The guy just pissed me off after a while. Can you tell that I'm just so picky for no fucking reason? But oh my god, luckily this year so far I have read a good few books, and you'll know that because the next 2 books that I read, I gave them 5 stars. And this is a good reading streak that I'm on, because I'm so harsh with my ratings. My sister always says that I'm very, very harsh with my ratings, and the smallest of things I start pecking on them. And if I don't know, my expectations are too crazy for no particular reason. But luckily I've been reading some great books. So let me tell you about the next book that I read. It's called As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And it was really heartbreaking, I ended up crying 50 pages in. I really ended up crying 50 pages in, and the minute I cried, I was like, yes, I am gonna read the entire thing. Because before that, I felt it was a little slow, where not a lot was going on. But then I started crying, and then I realized that I actually really, really wanted to read it, because weirdly, this was the first time I ever cried reading a book. It has never happened, and that could also be because I actively avoid reading sad books, because I don't like being sad. But yeah, I loved this book. I cried multiple times, and it was written really beautifully. The storyline was just, it felt so raw, and especially reading it right now, looking at the world around me, seeing what is happening, it just really gave me a kind of different perception about how people who might be living in war-torn countries or experiencing genocides might be feeling, and what they are going through on a daily basis. And it was really, really eye-opening, and I would definitely recommend that you guys read this. And also, the author is a very big BTS fan. I mean, she mentions them in her acknowledgements or something, and I loved it. She's such a good book. Highly recommend. Please read it. I give it 5 stars. Okay, and the most recently read book is Kim Ji-young, born 1982, by Cho Nam-joo, and I have heard really good reviews about it. It has always been a really, really famous book, and I've read another book by this author, even though this is the more popular one. This book is written in a very simple manner, and I don't know if that's because it's translated or if it's actually written like that, but we follow Kim Ji-young, and the book starts off with what she's dealing with currently, because she had a baby recently, and you know, she had to leave her job because of that, and the emotions and experiences she's having right now. But then after the first few pages, we immediately go back to her childhood and what her mother was like, and the sacrifices she might have made in her life, and what she had gone through. And then we follow Kim Ji-young in entering school, and then her middle school, high school, early adulthood, her married life. And it's so well written, first of all, because the experiences that she has is something that majority of the girls go through. And I did end up kind of highlighting some of the things, because I felt so seen when I was reading this book, but which is also a little sad, because the shit that women go through is just so annoying. Like, and it can be the smallest of details. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything extreme, but one of the things that I've highlighted is, it actually reminded me of my school days, and I hate that. I don't like to be reminded of my school days, as school was hell for me. But okay, girls were always head of class environment, and boys were always head of sports in every class, whether they were elected or appointed by the teacher. And you know what, that is so right. I have seen guys who were, okay fine, you were great in sports and all that, but why are you a sports captain or whatever when you are literally failing your classes? I don't think that's very leadership vibes of you if you are not even willing to study in 8th grade. But, and then wait, let me see what else. I loved reading this book. I read it so quickly, and this is also pretty small. It's only around 160 pages, but yeah, there's this conversation where her mother is telling her that she wanted to be a teacher too, and that's when Ji Young realized that she thought that until then she had thought that mothers could only be mothers. And then she told her mom that, you know, why don't you become a teacher now if you couldn't become a teacher back then, because her mother had told her that she had to make sure that her brothers go to school instead. But then her mother told her that she has to work to send her kids to school now, and that's how it is with everyone, and all mothers live like this. And guys, this is so sad. Like, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. But it was a great book. Highly recommend, especially if, of course, girls read it. You're gonna feel very seen through this book. But guys, if you wanna kind of understand and what it's like to be a girl and educate yourselves a little bit more about how your smallest of actions can have an impact on girls, and not really always in a positive way, please read this book. It's great. I loved it. Even though I am literally out of breath talking about these books, I don't know why that is, but I've been speaking for around 30 minutes straight and I'm pretty tired. But do let me know what books you have read this year, and what was your most favorite book or your least favorite, like better than the movies for me, or if you would like to recommend me a book, or if you have read any of these books and what are your opinions on it. I would love to know that. I would love to talk about books. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I promise there's going to be a next video soon. In a month, give me a month, at least a month, I'll have another video out. But yeah, I missed posting on YouTube a lot, and I'm so glad to be back. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.